For the first time in close to a month, we are officially back recapping a loaded Week 14 Sunday of NFL action with Week 14 winners and losers, fantasy jail, and yes, milk was a bad choice. I am your host, Shaun, and I am joined by my co-hosts, Keegan Thomson and Aidan Holler. Aidan, got to hang out with you all day yesterday. It was great seeing you, man. Keegan, miss you, dude. How you been?
Yeah, I miss you guys. I'm sad I missed out on the fun football Sunday that you guys all had together, but I'm good. Just sad that the season is coming to a close. Happy that I've clinched some playoff spots. It came by and it went fast. I can't believe it's week 15 already.
Crazy stuff. I cannot believe I can because it's been a long season, but I can't at the same time. It's kind of nuts how fast 3 months flies by. Aidan, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Yeah, it comes and goes. It comes and goes fast. We take it for granted. It's just a couple months out of the year, but I'm doing well. The first Monday, or I think the first recap in general, that all of our NFL teams actually won in the same week. So that was big winner of the week was the RTM boys and their actual football team.
Trending up, baby.
Exciting stuff. We got a couple teams in the hunt. Shaun's team
Hashtag in the hunt.
Yeah, I'm on the graphic, baby. So no, feeling good, man. Just vibing out on Monday.
How many wins do the Jets have? Do they have 5 too, or is it 4?
We're up to 5 wins now. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's insane.
I'm looking at the schedule, just remembering that Falcons lost, the Raiders lost, and the Patriots lost. That were inexcusable.
I'm with you there, man. The Lions and the Broncos lost. We win those, and we're the 6th seed right now. So fun stuff. Football's fun.
Both of you guys are trending up a bit. Both of you have much maligned quarterbacks that played very well. And that was kind of the story of the week. There was some excellent quarterback play. We'll dive into all of that. If you are new to our Sunday recap shows, first off, welcome. Our format here is pretty simple. Each one of us has a winner and loser of week 14. After winners and losers, we each send a guilty culprit to fantasy jail, and we'll air out some of our biggest misses and takes. And milk was a bad choice. If you can hear by the tone of my voice, I was questionable for today's podcast with a head cold, sore throat, whatever it may be. So I'm gonna push through. I'm gonna persevere. But before we dive into our Week 14 recap, today's episode of the Regression to the Mean podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. The fantasy season might be coming to an end for your redraft leagues, but on Underdog Fantasy, the fantasy season's far from over. They are offering up to $1.5 million in prize money in their NFL playoff best ball tournament, the Gauntlet. Underdog's playoff best ball format is super fascinating game. You draft your teams from all the pool of remaining players and teams. You try to decide which teams are going to make it far in the playoffs, which teams are going to get eliminated. Then you have to correctly assess all of the matchups. Super fascinating game theory stuff. It's a ton of fun. You can double your first deposit on Underdog up to $100 using promo code RTM. Playoff best ball. Are we brave enough to run it back, boys? Should we dust off the screen
We might
share?
have to rip a playoff best ball draft for the listeners.
We might have to. We might have to put that up on YouTube just for the memes.
That'd be fun.
Just to bring it back. Some correlation. Okay,
Yeah,
boys.
I'm trying to correlate.
Let's kick today's episode off with Week 14 winners. Keegan, I'm very excited to hear who you have as a winner this week.
Yeah, so the winner of my Week 14, I guess this last couple week stretch, has to be Deebo Samuel for me. A lot of early chatter in the beginning of the season about Ayuk emerging as the number one weapon, and Deebo maybe taking a back seat. I definitely thought that would be kind of the trend going through the season, but Deebo's been pretty rock solid all fantasy year, and now he's heating up at the perfect time. He's got 3 straight wide receiver 1 finishes. He was wide receiver 10 in week 12 with 22 points. And he goes on an insane 2-week heater where he's wide receiver 2 in week 13 with 35.8 points. And he's currently wide receiver 1 of week 14 with 34 points. 2 out of 3 of those games had 9 targets, 7 receptions. He's had 80-plus receiving yards in 3 straight games. He scored a rushing touchdown in 3 straight games. And he closes out. Oh, he's also had at least 3 rush attempts in 2 out of 3 of those matchups. And he closes out the season with Arizona, then Baltimore, and Washington. in your fantasy football playoffs. So there is not a better time for a player like Deebo Samuel to heat up for fantasy managers and owners across all Deebo teams in the world, especially those like me. And I'm pretty excited about it. And his fantasy playoff schedule is pretty good. Baltimore is okay, but we just watched Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp have a pretty reasonable stat line against them. And Arizona and Washington should be just plus matchups. So I'm stoked for Deebo. Great time to get hot. He's got to be my biggest winner on the week.
I love that. I've got some Deebo stats, just to brush off here, because Deebo, 19 problems, one of my favorite guys in the NFL. Over the last 2 weeks, 288 total yards, 5 touchdowns, 70 PPR points over the past 2 weeks for Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk was asked, "What's it like playing with Deebo Samuel?" His quote, "That boy cold." That was his quote. I think my favorite thing from the press conference that I saw after the game was on Deebo's touchdown in which he burned hashtag Prez. Deebo said that he was the last read. He was the last read. And he wasn't even running that hard. And then he looked over and he saw that Brock was winding up to throw it deep. And he was like, "Oh, I got to speed up." So he sped up, catches the touchdown, 54-yard touchdown. I just kind of want to throw some stuff out there because Deebo's a winner, but I just want to say Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense is a bit of winner here. And I just want to throw this stat out here. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy is up to 7 completions on 13 throws, traveling 30-plus air yards this season. He has 3 touchdowns and 0 INTs on those attempts. From 2017 to 2022, Jimmy Garoppolo had 6 completions on 40 throws of 30-plus yards. He had 2 touchdowns and 6 INTs on those attempts. So I'm crowning myself a winner because I get to see Brock Purdy throw to Deebo Samuel. That's my win. I don't have to watch Jimmy G play quarterback anymore. So, and that was from Nick Wagner over on Twitter. But major win for Deebo. Aidan, I know Deebo was a big fade for you in the offseason. Are you ready to capitulate? Is it happening yet?
No, I'm still standing on it.
10
So
toes?
I think if you were lucky enough to still be in playoff contention with Deebo, like now you're seeing the fruits of your labor, but he still missed multiple weeks, had a couple early stinkers. I think like consistently wise, I'm still Team Ayuk. I think even after this week, I think Ayuk is actually still going to be ranked above him in fantasy football. So no, like the last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks, I guess you'd even sneak in, have been pretty nuts. Just absolutely gone nuclear. But there's a good chance that Deebo also cost you your season for some of the early week kind of blunders. So no, I'm still standing on business. Brandon Ayuk, you are still my Niners wide receiver 1.
Aidan, who do you have as a winner this week?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a bit of a team effort on this one, and I'm going with the Ravens passing attack. They went absolutely nuts this Sunday in a game that we expected to be like kind of sloppy with the weather conditions. Absolutely lit us up. Lamar had just under 400 total yards and 3 touchdowns. QB1, only his second game of the season where he's thrown for over 300 yards. Zay and OBJ were wide receivers 6 and 7, respectively, nearly 160 yards and 2 TDs, 1 apiece. And then Isaiah Likely, a guy that we highlighted, went crazy. 5 catches, 83 yards, and a tutty. Tight end 3 on the week. Everyone was eating in this offense. The rushing attack, I guess not so much. But if you were a part of that Ravens passing attack this Sunday, what a performance, man. They're going to be scary down the stretch. I feel like they're one of like the teams that like isn't getting quite enough attention as like a legitimate Super Bowl threat that could, kind of beat anyone with their defense and this offense playing like that. So shout out Lamar and company. That was pretty special.
It was awesome to watch. I think a lot of us were a little nervous because of the weather. And Puka had 14 fantasy points on the other side, but I don't know. My brain went to Puka. I'm sorry, we're talking about the Ravens. But yes, the Ravens. My brain just always goes to Puka. I am a Lamar owner in fantasy. 35 fantasy points. We're gonna take that every day of the week. Would love Lamar to get hot in the fantasy playoffs to bring me home. That would be
Zay
spectacular.
Flowers octopus.
Yes, he had an
Pretty cool.
octopus.
No way. Shaun was talking. I was like, what are you
I had to
saying,
teach
bro?
Keegan Aidan what an octopus was this week.
Yep.
We
Dude,
love a good
I don't know
octopus.
how I don't know how this has like gained so much steam, and I mean, obviously the phrase has been around for a while, but I saw that there is like, how there's Twitter trackers for everything, right?
Yeah.
Like
It's like
there's
scoregami.
Scoregami.
Scoregami's awesome.
There's an octopus tracker Twitter.
Yes.
I didn't even know that existed. I'm like, how long have we been actually using this phrase to describe an 8-point play from a single player? But hey, there's an octopus tracker, Zay Flowers octopus. He had a couple tough drops in the beginning of that game, but he wound up with a pretty good fantasy day regardless.
Yep.
I would love if they just used him downfield more, but he was huge in that final drive. Like they super leaned on him in that final drive. He's
a stud.
He has a 30% target share when Mark Andrews doesn't play, and he's averaging 20 fantasy points per game when Mark Andrews doesn't play. So
I just want to say, like the beginning of the season, and even preseason, we were very in on the Ravens and the Monken offense, and it's been kind of weird where not a lot of people have eaten.
Gus
never
Edwards
wrong, just
Gus
early. Yeah,
Gus
Edwards
Edwards
never wrong, just early. Is all I want to say.
Gus Edwards, man.
Gus Edwards took all the points for like a month. It was the worst. Oh, it was. But yeah, Keegan, you're right. Todd Monken coming alive. Hopefully this offense can go crazy in the fantasy playoffs. I've got a lot of Zay. I've got a lot of Lamar. The last winner that I have here, honorable mention too to Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Way to go, Arthur. You did it. You used your best players. Way to go. And you lost, but it's okay. It's okay. Drake London's a baller. Please, can we get him a better situation? I'd say the big winner, in my opinion, and not to toot Aidan and I's own horn here, but it's Jake Browning. Jake Browning was ridiculous this week against the Colts. He was by the way, that offense is not dead or Jover, by the way, Keegan. But by the way,
is he going to play this week? I don't know. Is he going to play this week? I don't know.
Keegan might have been right about the Vikings offense being dead. Never wrong, just early. That might have been the right take. Dobbs is bad, but we'll get to losers.
If you just
later.
say every replacement quarterback situation is Jover, like you'll hit one. And there's enough backup quarterback play and like weird quarterback situations that you're going to hit one. All right. Yeah. I did not expect Jake Browning to come in here and light it up like that. That's on me. But
I wasn't either. I just thought Jamar Chase would be fine. I had no idea that he'd be able to make T. Higgins look like T. Higgins on like contested deep ball. Like T. Higgins made some unreal plays. We'll talk about
I got so excited for that touchdown that got called back, and I was like, yeah, he shoved the shit out of him.
But that was a bummer. Sick catch. Classic T though. But Jake Browning against the Colts yesterday, he was first in PFF passing grade. He was first in adjusted completion rate. He was first in passer rating, and he was second in EPA per dropback. And this was after he had a historic Monday night against the Jaguars, where he threw for like 300 yards on an 80% completion percentage. Jake Browning's kind of got some Brock Purdy vibes this year, where it's like good offense. Like Zach Taylor's kind of off of a heater right now. I never admit that, but clearly calling the plays right. Really good weaponry. They got Jamar Chase going in week 13. They get T. Higgins going in week 14. Mixon and Chase Brown are forming this kind of interesting duo at running back. Like things are kind of setting up well for Browning, and he's been really showing out for fantasy managers. This hasn't been like a Baker Mayfield 15, 16 points. He scored 26 fantasy points in week 13. 24 fantasy points in week 14. He's the QB2 during this stretch. So if you picked him up to replace Joe Burrow in like a super flex league, you are cooking with gas here. This is like you found $100 on the ground, and this team
wasn't enough for some of us.
No, he didn't get there. He just
some people might be cooking with gas, but it was not enough. That's for sure for some people.
That's I digress. Rough. You got like 60 free points, and it's not enough. That's a bummer. But this Bengals team is oozing with confidence, and they've got matchups against Minnesota, Pitt, KC, and Cleveland. Not like the easiest stretch, but not a impossible stretch either. And it's been the year of the backup quarterback. It seems like every month a new one has come to fruition and made their stamp. Jake Browning looks awesome. And then major shout out to Joe Burrow, who allowed Jake Brown, basically bought a suite and allowed Jake Browning's family to sit in the suite to watch Browning at home against. That
was very cool.
Yeah. So Burrow, even when he's not even playing, is kind of the man. So shout out to Joe Burrow. But that's it for winners, right? I feel like we have a Ravens, Bengals, and we got the Niners. So I love that and the players that we highlighted. Moving on to losers here. Aidan, I like your category that you have here. I'd like you to explain more about the losers this
Yep.
week that you have.
Yeah, so I'm going with Justin's not named Fields. Justin Fields, you're a mini winner, so you're excluded from this,
Sure,
but
a winner.
for sure a winner. Justin Jefferson and Justin Herbert.
Oof.
Tough. After a long-awaited return from Justin Jefferson, we get 2 catches for 27 yards, and Josh Dobbs tries to get him pretty much killed across
It
the
was
middle
an
of the field.
actual hospital ball. He had to go to
He
the
went to the
hospital.
hospital.
It was legitimately a hospital
He
ball.
took the defender's ankle, is like, dude, hit him with like a crossover, absolutely loses him, Shadow Realm-esque across the middle, and Josh Dobbs almost gets him killed. So reports so there's a good chance he plays. But even with this quarterback situation, like, it's so dark for him going forward. If you own him, you missed playoffs. Like, there's
Probably.
no way you got around it. I missed playoffs in my one team with him. Maybe you have a toilet bowl that like your team still does, or maybe yours just over after this week. Tough one there. And then Justin Herbert, man. Broke another finger on his index finger throwing hand. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the last of Justin Herbert we see this year. He probably won't play Thursday. He's actually never missed a game still. Dude's kind of a warrior even with all the injuries he's had, but likely going to miss Thursday. And at that point, they lose Thursday and like they're eliminated pretty much. At that point, why do you even bring him back? So pretty brutal. If you own anyone on the offense, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, maybe Austin Eckler gets a bump if it's just like dump off central. Keenan Allen's in a bit of danger, but yeah, tough day for Justin's not named Fields.
Oh, that Justin Fields hit was so brutal. I remember we were watching that in live time and we were like, ooze. We got the ooze because he just destroyed that cornerback, and then the O is he just gets absolutely cracked. That might have been the hardest non-hit, like non-concussion helmet-to-helmet hit I've seen all year. And then Herbert, it's pasture season for that Chargers team. Like, that whole team just needs a reset. It's brutal.
They're going to blow it up this offseason. They have to.
That
team's just,
they're
it's just not
$50 million
working.
over the cap. They're $50 million over the cap for next year, and their coach is just a nightmare.
And the defense just is bad. Yeah, I don't know. It's really bad. I'm sorry, Chargers fans.
Keegan, who did you have as a loser this week?
I wanted to talk about the team in general that Justin Jefferson plays for, but I've got the Minnesota Vikings and also Jordan Addison as well. But the Linsanity run of Joshua Dobbs could potentially be over. That was a good matchup, I think, for the entire team. I thought there was going to be more points for both teams. It was a good matchup for the Raiders. It was a good matchup for the Vikings. And we end up with a 3-0 stinker in which Josh Dobbs eventually gets benched for Nick Mullins. And he couldn't even muster 100 yards passing. I think he ended up throwing for like 61, 66, something like that on the day. He gets benched. As Aidan said, he throws a hospital ball to Justin Jefferson. So his return, as we were all excited for, we had him ranked pretty highly on the week. Basically, second catch or second target, and he's toast for the game. His ribs are absolutely crushed. And then Jordan Addison, again, failed to reach 11 PPR points in the game. He hasn't scored more than 11 PPR points in the game since week 8. So Jordan Addison has been trending down. So that's who kind of my main loser of this was. But now we have a QB carousel situation where it could be Dobbs, it could be Nick Mullins, it could go back to rookie Jaron Hall. On top of that, Alexander Madison's now hurt after he was hurt. Ty Chandler took basically the remainder of the snaps. And TJ Hawkinson, by some fucking miracle or grace of God, actually got to 10 PPR points. But still, 5 receptions on 53 yards is not great. He did have 8 targets, but this is an offense with, like, whether we like him or not, we'll count Alexander Madison to this, but this is an offense with a lot of fantasy weapons, right? You wanted Justin Jefferson to come back and help you down the playoff stretch. Jordan Addison's been decent in spurts. TJ Hawkinson's been a monster. Madison, Ty Chandler, and now you're wondering, are these guys even playable? Like, I would only position TJ Hawkinson as like a must start every week because you can't get much better than that. But you don't stream these quarterbacks. Like, streaming Joshua Dobbs is not an option anymore. Jordan Addison would surely go to the bench in favor of a lot of other wide receivers in fantasy football. And it's it just looks bad. It's the wrong time to have this happening for a team that does have so many viable fantasy assets. So I have to think of Jordan Addison and the Minnesota Vikings as like my biggest loser from week 14.
Dude, that game was 0-0 indoors at like the 2-minute warning. Like that was truly one of the gross.
They
We had
both
that game
deserve
on.
to lose. They both deserve to lose.
We had that game on in the bottom right-hand corner, and it was just pure football. Just so many punts. It was unbelievable.
Bad.
It was bad, dude.
The Raiders defense held the Vikings to 3.3 yards per play, 231 yards, 52 net passing yards because you subtract the sack yards. And they were 8 for 20 on third down. When Josh Dobbs got benched, he was 10 for 23 for 63 yards, but only had 16 team passing yards because he took 47 sack yards.
Dude, it was so bad. I've got a fun stat actually from that one. Keegan will appreciate this actually. The Minnesota Wild and the Minnesota Vikings won by the same score on Sunday.
I saw that. They both won 3-0.
Yeah, they both won 3-0,
insane.
which is
That's
absolutely insane.
That's insane.
So
that's a good one.
I saw that and I was like, this can't be right. This can't be right, man. It was You're a loser if you watch that full game. So I'll toss everyone else in there too. If you watch that full football game, then
they're for sure on the FBI list. If you're like your YouTube TV has stayed on that for too long.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last loser that I have here is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Major losers. So first things first, we'll start with fantasy football. Mahomes only has one QB1 finish this season. He's only been the top QB once this year against the Chargers. And he only has 2 top 5 finishes. For context, here is a list of QBs with the same or more top 5 finishes than Patrick Mahomes. We'll start off with Jake Browning, who started 3 games, same amount. We've got Josh Dobbs, Justin Fields, who's played in 9 games, Kirk Cousins, who played in 8 games. Then we've got some, MVP type guys that people are talking about, Tua, Brock Purdy. And then we have some guys that were just complete undrafted quarterbacks in Sam Howell and Jordan Love. So that list has equaled the same amount of top 5. Oh, Dak's in there for sure, but I felt like that was obvious. This isn't the full list, by the way. These are just some of the names. Some of the names, right?
That's absurd.
Yeah, I mean the Jake Browning one is nuts.
3 games.
Mahomes has mostly lived in that 5 to 8 weekly range, which is like in terms of QB finishes, which is like fine, but definitely not good enough for his draft standing. Out of the big 3, remember at the beginning of the year, we were just like one of Hurts, Allen, or Mahomes is not going to be as good. I bet on Allen being the L. Milk was a bad choice. Josh, you've been amazing this year for fantasy football. It has been Mahomes. He's been the biggest busted quarterback this season. And then the meltdown to Josh Allen after the game was kind of brutal when they're embracing after the game, and he's like, "That was one of the worst fucking calls or bizarre calls I've ever seen." It's like,
bad
dog,
look,
like
dude.
Josh doesn't give a fuck. Like, come on, just shake him, say good game, way to put it out there, like whatever. And he's just like out here bitching to the refs. And I kind of get what Mahomes is saying in the sense where he kept saying, "I've never seen something like that." Yeah. You usually don't see a wide receiver line up 3 feet off sides because usually they know where to stand. But your receiver, Kadarius Toney, didn't. So that's why we had the issues here, Josh, about, Patrick, about why you had never seen that before. And I get that he's angry. He should be angry, right? But he can't scream at Kadarius Toney. So maybe you just like displace it, scream at the refs, chestnut checkers, right? Maybe that's his strategy. He's got to get his
He
anger
should
out
scream
somehow.
at Kadarius Toney. Like, he didn't even make an effort to check with the refs.
Yeah.
Like, this is a player who's constantly causing issues for them. He was like one of the biggest culprits of their week 1 loss.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of EPA taken away from Kadarius Toney's drops was insane week 1. He's been a problem all year. And he doesn't check with the and one of the offensive linemen wasn't even lined up correctly.
Oh,
like Patrick
Taylor,
Mahomes,
who's been an L all year.
Dude,
He's
Patrick
so
Mahomes
many
like revealing his
him.
superstar self and like bitching about the refs is like so like it's such a bad look for his brand. I feel like a lot of people are going to kind of be like, "Ugh, Patrick Mahomes, like, why are you whining?" He's like, "Oh, we don't get these calls." I'm like, dude, I could go back and show you a bunch of times that you gotten these calls, or like don't get the calls for however way you want to spin it. But that was such a baby behavior. And then he's like, ruined a Hall of Fame play. Like,
that was hilarious.
For Travis Kelce to think to do that is like, blah, blah.
He does have
a cool
a point,
play,
though.
but
The play was unbelievable. The fact that the play got
it was sick.
We were staring at each other because we were watching together. We were like, that was fucking insane.
Okay, but Patrick Mahomes saying that affects his Hall of Fame legacy.
So dramatic. What a dramatic
stupid.
king. What a dramatic king. The dude is so worked up. He's never lost before, guys. The guy does not lose. He's gone 5 years.
He lost at Texas Tech plenty. He knows how to lose.
He has not played a road playoff game in his career. He has not played a single game on the road in his career. This is how well things have gone for him. He does have a point, though. The fact that play got wiped off is so ass. That play was absurd.
It's completely their fault. It's completely
justified. Yeah, it's not ass that it got wiped. It was all their fault. It was Toney's fault. It should have never happened.
It's still ass that it got wiped. But again, regardless, big L for the Chiefs. We will see you in the AFC Championship because that's what we always do.
He should be mad at GMs and Andy Reid and them for not getting a better wide receiver supporting cast.
Putting a shit team around
for trading Tyreek Hill. All right, you guys want to send some people to fantasy jail?
Yeah, let's do it.
You're stealing, right to jail. You're playing music too loud, right to jail, right away. You're driving too fast, jail. Slow, jail.
So I think we'll just get one off really quickly. Kadarius Toney, straight to jail, please. You ruined an incredible play. That play was good. I mean, you would have gotten the touchdown on it too. You would have gotten some glory. It ruined Travis Kelce's Hall of Fame career. He's no longer is going to the Hall of Fame because of this play.
Yeah, he's lost his first.
He's lost his first ballot status. It's gone.
No gold jacket for Travis.
Thank you, Kadarius. Taylor Swift's breaking up with him now. Thank you, Kadarius. No, seriously though, come on. You're a third-year pro. Line up right. I don't know what to tell you. Do your fucking job. So Kadarius Toney, straight to jail. Keegan, we're going to send it to you, and then we're going to spend probably the most of the time on the last fantasy jail culprit. Keegan, who you sending to jail?
I think we have to send Jared Goff to fantasy jail. We talked earlier in the episode about how important it is to baby hands, cold hands.
Dunked on him for 3 straight hours.
Just wondering, or we were talking about how important it is that Deebo seating up at the right time, right? And how Jake Browning's playing good towards the end of the year, Jamar Chase seating up. Jared Goff could cost us a heating up Amon-Ra St. Brown if he doesn't figure it out. It's directly impacting Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is why I have Jared Goff here in fantasy jail. But in weeks 13 and 14, fails to reach 250 passing yards in either game. He's only thrown for 374 yards total in a 2-week stretch. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, because of it, has failed to reach at least 13 PPR points in back-to-back matchups heading into the fantasy playoffs. He's had less than 50 yards in both games. On the bright side, Jared Goff will be a home game in week 15 against Denver, but then he goes to 2 domes. In week 16, he'll get Minnesota in a dome. In week 17, he'll get Dallas at Jerry World. Jared Goff's also failed to reach 20 or more standard fantasy points in 6 out of his last 7 games. So it's not like this is brand new. He has been trending downwards as the season goes on. Well, I'm hoping the play gets better and maybe a home game in the first week of playoffs would be big for Amon-Ra St. Brown, but not the trend you want to see from your first round wide receivers quarterback. That's for sure. So Jared Goff's going to serve a light sentence until proven not guilty for hamstringing our favorite fantasy wide receiver.
Jared, straight to jail. Light sentence, though. Toney might be a lifelong convict.
Yeah, his is more
He could
serious.
be out with a Ford Field masterclass in week 15 in an Amon-Ra 25-point game.
They need it, man. The lines are trending in the wrong direction. People are starting to toss out the F word.
People like you.
I said people. I didn't specify anyone, but they're on F watch.
You mean fraud watch? Okay. Last one. This one's kind of controversial. Do we send them to an American prison? Do we send them to Guantanamo Bay, which is an American facility in a different country? Is there going to be extradition? Because we're going to have to send Shaun McDermott and the Buffalo Bills to some sort of criminal.
They're locked up
here.
somewhere. They're locked up somewhere for sure.
We got to start with the obvious here. And I think
Kadarius Toney, you know who would have lined up on the ball, right?
Al-Qaeda?
The 9/11 attackers.
No, I have to retract what I said. It turns out you don't have to hand it to the terrorist group ISIL. Shout out Drill, the Twitter account. preaching that your team needs to come together in 2019 before you play both New York teams, much like the hijackers on 9/11. Sean McDermott, I can't believe that was real, and then I can't believe he had to get into a press conference and then say, "I apologize for that years ago." I can't
I'm good
believe
now. I'm off the hook.
I can't believe that was a thing. That article was a just 3-part drive-by shooting of Sean McDermott. I don't know who Tyler Dunn does good work, the author, but I don't know how that got sanctioned or where that came from. But it looked like a hit job on Sean McDermott, and he doesn't look good in the piece. And a lot of the piece highlights the fact that in close games he gets really tight. He doesn't really make good decisions. And Aidan, you wanted to send this team to fantasy jail for a lot of outside of the Al Qaeda remarks for what happened there in the fourth quarter with the Bills. So to talk us through a little bit about why you're sending McDermott, potentially Joe Brady, and just the Bills in general to fantasy jail.
I would extend it to the second half in general. They completely dominated the first half. Outside of that one bonehead Josh Allen interception around midfield, James Cook was absolutely just like shoving it down their throats, just running all over them, catching passes. The guy didn't have a single target in the second half. They pretty much completely abandoned the run, just like low percentage plays all of the second half. And then the real cherry on top that Shaun was alluding to was like the clock management from this team down the stretch. Like they hate winning. Like they have to hate winning because the decisions they make are puzzling. It's what I think it was like 2:15 left. I don't know, they're on like the other 40 or something. It's like,
field
okay,
goal range.
yeah, you're in field goal range. The Chiefs have 2 timeouts and there's a 2-minute warning left. It's like, okay, first down, we're running the football. Okay, first down, pass, incomplete. Nice. Okay, so we're like, all right, we fucked that one up. 2nd and 10, we've got to run the ball now. It's like now 30-yard pass along the sidelines, like the most low percentage play like you could dream of. Okay, 3rd and 10. So at this point, you're like, do you have to pass it? Pass it again. I forget.
It was the Steph Diggs. They tried to run a Steph Diggs screen.
Drop.
They tried to run a Steph Diggs screen, just give it to James fucking Cook.
Yeah.
James Cook dominated the first half of that game. Dominated. And they just abandoned the run completely.
Yeah.
Like even on the most spectacular play of the day, which was the Josh Allen falling out of bounds, which is, again, this is why Keegan will never be allowed to say Josh Allen stinks no matter how hard he tries. And the agenda has been firing this season regardless. Josh Allen's falling out of bounds, throws one of the silliest passes I've ever seen. Throws it to Latavius Murray, who catches it and fumbles it when no one touches him. Like Latavius Murray is just running with the ball and fumbles it out of bounds. Like,
that was a good play by Josh Allen. I'll give him that.
They wanted to lose so bad. I can't believe they got out of there with a win.
I don't know how they did it. Well, they did it because it's just full blown idiocracy with the Chiefs, and that's why they won that game. But I don't get it. Just give James Cook the ball more. Like, I know that his usage is up and his fantasy points are up, and we're fantasy bros, but this guy looks electric. Why do we continue to put Latavius Murray in situations to win you games when he clearly does not have the skill or competency to do so? That's it. Like, straight to jail for the Bills. I cannot believe they had the ball in field goal range with 2 minutes and 15 seconds left. And KC had 2 timeouts. They had to burn a timeout. KC did not have to use a single timeout and still got the 2-minute warning. No. They were able to they burned off the 2-minute warning. But KC had 2 timeouts and like a minute 50 left to go down and win the game. It was just
next level galaxy brains. Next level.
All right. Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott, you're going to jail. Kadarius Toney, you're going to jail. And we are sending Jared Goff to jail. All right. You guys want to air out some of our bad takes and get out of here?
Yeah, let's have some dairy.
All right. Ron Burgundy, bring us home.
Milk was a bad choice.
All right, guys, I'm done with Dameon Pierce. I'm done. One of my worst off-season takes.
I can't believe we got sucked back in for one more.
I wish I could delete that TikTok of me calling him a 3-down dog.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well, we probably
live on the internet forever.
We could probably delete it.
He had 9 yards, right? 9 yards, right?
So his usage was hashtag trending
9 more yards than me.
His usage was hashtag trending up, and then until it wasn't. It went back to Devin Singletary against the Jets. We put him in a chalkboard slip as part of like our sleepers slip. we were all over Browning. We were all over Jaden Reed. We probably should have just left it at that. But we got greedy. We put in 3 dudes. Also, Milk was a bad choice. I'm just sticking to 2. We're just sticking to, it's just way easier to hit 2. The minute you bring in the 3rd or 4th leg, you're just playing with
chalkboard
fire.
needs to be two entries.
We're doing 2 entries. Brutal. I'm done with Dameon Pierce. I'm done. He'd hit 29.5 rushing yards in pretty much every game he's played this season. I'm just done. Great matchup too. I'm out. I'm out on Dameon. All right, Aidan, who was bad choice for who was your milk this week?
I also have a dairy in the form of a running back, and it's Roschon Johnson as the Bears running back 1. Did not quite materialize. I know me and you talked quite a bit about Roschon coming out of the bye, that post-bye rookie bump for Roschon, and that did not happen. He had a total of 1 touch for 6 yards. So yeah, that is Deontay Foreman's backfield. That is the final answer. All the snaps would lead you to suggest it. Khalil Herbert got outsnapped by the fullback yesterday, which was interesting. So Khalil Herbert is like fully droppable if he's still on your rosters. But yeah, no, the Roschon take, that's on me. He's not the every down back there, and probably will not be this season.
Nightmare. Yep. Keegan, your milk was a bad choice before we get out of here.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a season-long one, and we've brought it up a little bit already. Well, Shaun has brought it up because he likes to remind me how wrong I was. But I just have to apologize to Michael Pittman. When I started the season and we were going through preseason takes, and I was high on Richardson. So looking back, it should have made more sense to be like, well, if I'm high on Richardson, I should believe in the weapons around him. But no, I was galaxy braining it and thought Rich would be good and Michael Pittman would be bad. But turns out it doesn't matter who plays quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, because Michael Pittman's going to be good regardless. Even when Minshew was started into the lineup, I felt even worse about Pittman for the rest of the year. Well, currently he's wide receiver 11 in PPR scoring, so good for a wide receiver 1 on the season. He's finished as a wide receiver 1 5 times on the season this year. He's had 9 top 16 PPR wide receiver finishes this year. He's had 5 or more receptions in all but 2 games. He's had 8 or more targets in all but 3 games. He's basically been like the best PPR emergent, like mid-round wide receiver you could have drafted. He only scored less than 10 PPR points once this year, which was shocking when I went back and looked at it. And he's had at least a 20% target share the entire season in each game. So I was wrong. That was a bad preseason take. I ended up with no shares of him. I didn't draft him a lot in best ball, no redraft. I'm kind of wishing I had some Michael Pittman heading into the fantasy playoffs. But I just want to say sorry, Michael.
Yeah, I want to just piggyback that. I also doubted you, Michael. Keegan bore the brunt of that one, but I have a total of like 0 Pittman exposure across like best ball, redraft, everything. And yeah, it would definitely help me as my wide receivers are currently crumbling. So I'm sorry, Michael.
I didn't draft a ton of them. I went with DJ Moore and Drake London were my good receivers and low pass volume offense guys, but I was still pretty in on Pittman. I will say though, Keegan, I think Gardner Minshew definitely helped. I think Pittman would have been good regardless, but this Minshew mania 40 plus pass attempt offense is, I think, very much helped Pittman shares this season.
Yep. Yeah.
It's unreal, dude. He's playing like Wazoo Minshew. It's crazy.
Just air raid, let it rip.
Yeah, and it's with Michael Pittman too. It's just good to know is these like first read target share guys. It's like a super RPO heavy offense. So it's like next year when we're looking at team like receivers, if they play in like RPO heavy offenses and they're the first read, they're gonna get so many fucking targets. Like that's why what Arthur Smith's doing with Drake London is malpractice, because it's like Jonnu Smith first read targets and just like complete nonsense. It's like, just feed your best players, brother. Please, for the love of God. All roads lead back to Arthur Smith. I apologize. All right, that's going to do it for our week 14 recap. Before we jump, you guys got anything to say to the listeners?
Best of luck in the offs.
Yeah, I got nothing else.
Nothing else?
Yeah, no.
You got a Jets win? Oh, come on, Keegan.
My brain just started
Wilson
wandering
looked like
about
the second coming. We're not going to pump his stock right now?
No. I'm just gonna behave like this is business as usual. This is how it should have been all year, to
BAU?
be honest. Yeah, BAU, business as usual for Zach Sexy Wilson. He was balling. Good for him.
Aidan, sorry I cut you off. I just had to get a Zach Wilson take out before we left.
Yeah, I was gonna say RIP to the Houston fantasy assets. It was
That should
it
have been a
was-
big loser for us, as Houston is
Yeah.
cooked.
it was a good ride. Like I know, like my brain just started wandering, and I just started thinking about Nico, Tank, and CJ all just getting taken from us within a week and a half of the fantasy playoffs. So it was a good run. Smile because it happened.
Still got Dameon Pierce. He's still available.
Keep his name out of this podcast.
He's still an option for you guys. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Waiver Wire episode will be dropping Monday night. Stay tuned. Until next time.